They'll quickly explain him. And, no longer listening to anything, Berlioz ran on. Here, just at the exit to Brannaya, there rose from a bench to meet the editor exactly the same citizen who in the sunlight earlier had formed himself out of the thick swelter. Only now he was no longer made of air, but ordinary, fleshly, and Berlioz clearly distinguished in the beginning twilight that he had a little mustache like chicken feathers, tiny eyes, ironic and half-drunk, and checkered trousers pulled up so high that his dirty white socks showed. Mikhail Alexandrovich drew back, but reassured himself by reflecting that it was a stupid coincidence and that generally there was no time to think about it now. Looking for the turnstile, citizen? The checkered type inquired in a cracked tenor. This way, please. Straight on and you'll get where you're going. How about a little pint pot for my information to set up an ex-choirmaster? Mugging, the specimen swept his jockey's cap from his head. Berlioz, not stopping to listen to the cadging and clowning choirmaster, ran up to the turnstile and took hold of it with his hand. He turned it and was just about to step across the rails when red and white light splashed in his face. A sign lit up in a glass box. Caution tramcar. And right then this tramcar came racing along, turning down the newly laid line from Yermolaevsky to Brannaya. Having turned, and coming to the straight stretch, it suddenly lit up inside with electricity, whined, and put on speed. The prudent Berlioz, though he was standing in a safe place, decided to retreat behind the stile, moved his hand on the crossbar, and stepped back. And right then his hand slipped and slid, one foot, unimpeded, as if on ice, went down the cobbled slope leading to the rails, the other was thrust into the air, and Berlioz was thrown onto the rails. Trying to get hold of something, Berlioz fell backwards, the back of his head lightly striking the cobbles, and had time to see high up, but whether to right or left he no longer knew, the gold-tinged moon. He managed to turn on his side, at the same moment drawing his legs to his stomach in a frenzied movement, and, while turning, to make out the face, completely white with horror, and the crimson armband of the woman driver bearing down on him with irresistible force. Berlioz did not cry out, but around him the whole street screamed with desperate female voices. The woman driver tore at the electric brake, the car dug its nose into the ground, then instantly jumped up, and glass flew from the windows with a crash and a jingle. Here someone in Berlioz's brain cried desperately. Can it be? Once more, and for the last time, the moon flashed, but now breaking to pieces, and then it became dark. The tramcar went over Berlioz, and a round dark object was thrown up the cobbled slope below the fence of the Patriarch's Walk. Having rolled back down this slope, it went bouncing along the cobblestones of the street. It was the severed head of Berlioz. Chapter 4. The Chase. The hysterical women's cries died down, the police whistles stopped drilling, 2 ambulances drove off, one with the headless body and severed head, to the morgue, the other with the beautiful driver, wounded by broken glass. Street sweepers in white aprons removed the broken glass and poured sand on the pools of blood, but Ivan Nikolaevich just stayed on the bench as he had dropped onto it before reaching the turnstile. He tried several times to get up, but his legs would not obey him. Something akin to paralysis had occurred with Homeless. The poet had rushed to the turnstile as soon as he heard the first scream, and had seen the head go bouncing along the pavement. With that he so lost his senses that, having dropped onto the bench, he bit his hand until it bled. Of course, he forgot about the mad German and tried to figure out one thing only, how it could be that he had just been talking with Berlioz, and a moment later, the head. Agitated people went running down the walk past the poet, exclaiming something, but Ivan Nikolaevich was insensible to their words. However, 2 women unexpectedly ran into each other near him, and one of them, sharp-nosed and bareheaded, shouted the following to the other, right next to the poet's ear. Anushka, our Anushka. From Sadovaya. It's her work. She bought sunflower oil at the grocery, and went and broke the whole liter bottle on the turnstile. Messed her skirt all up, and swore. And he, poor man, must have slipped and, right onto the rails. Of all that the woman shouted, one word lodged itself in Ivan Nikolaevich's upset brain. Anushka. Anushka, Anushka? The poet muttered, looking around anxiously. Wait a minute, wait a minute. The word Anushka got strung together with the word sunflower oil, and then for some reason with Pontius Pilate. The poet dismissed Pilate and began linking up the chain that started from the word Anushka. And this chain got very quickly linked up and led at once to the mad professor. Excuse me. But he did say the meeting wouldn't take place because Anushka had spilled the oil. And, if you please, it won't take place. What's more, he said straight out that Berlioz's head would be cut off by a woman? Yes, yes, yes. And the driver was a woman. What is all this, eh? There was not a grain of doubt left that the mysterious consultant had known beforehand the exact picture of the terrible death of Berlioz. Here two thoughts pierced the poet's brain. The first. He's not mad in the least, that's all nonsense. And the second, then didn't he set it all up himself? But in what manner, may we ask? Ah, no, this we're going to find out.